Okay, here we want to solve the rational equality and write the solution in interval notation. So let's write this out. So we have 1/2 plus 24 over x squared, and that's greater than 7 over x. So we want to get 0 on the right hand side, so we're going to subtract 7 over x to both sides. So we have 1 over 2 plus 24 over x squared, and that's minus 7 over x, and that's going to be greater than 0. Okay, now we have 3 terms on the left hand side that we need to combine into one term, so we need a least common denominator. So the common denominator between 2x squared and x is going to be 2x squared. So our new denominator is going to be 2x squared. So in our first fraction, what do we need to multiply by 2 to get 2x squared? Well, that's x squared. So 1 times x squared is x squared. X squared times what's going to give us 2x squared, which is that's times 2. So 24 times 2 is 48. Okay, and then x times what's going to give us 2x squared? Well, that's 2x. So 7 times 2x is going to give us 14x. So now what we need to do is we need to combine like terms. So we know that our denominator is going to be 2x squared. In our numerator, we have x squared, we have minus 14x, and then we have plus 48, and that's greater than 0. Okay, now we're almost done, but we still need to factor that numerator. So here we have 2x squared in the denominator. And if we factor this, we have positive 48 and negative 14. So what two numbers can we multiply to get positive 48? Then we add, we get negative 14. We get negative 6 and negative 8. So this factors to be x minus 6 times x minus 8. So now we have our inequality factored into one term on the left-hand side and 0 on the right-hand side. And now we can determine what are our critical points. So in the numerator, we have x minus 6 times x minus 8, and we're going to set that equal to 0. So we have x minus 6 is equal to 0, or x minus 8 is equal to 0. So x is equal to 8. Excuse me, x is equal to 6. Or x is equal to 8. And then in the denominator, we have a restricted value. And that tells us that we have 2x squared, which is equal to 0. If we divide both sides by 2, we get x squared, which is equal to 0. If we take the square root of both sides, we get x is equal to 0. So therefore, we have 3 critical points. So let's go ahead and draw our number line. So we have 0, we have 6, and then we have 8. So let's go ahead and divide our regions up. So we have a critical point at 0, critical point at 6, and a critical point at 8. So that tells us that we're going to have 4 regions. Region 1, Region 2, Region 3, and Region 4. So if you notice here, the inequality is a greater than. So we're going to be using parentheses in all of our intervals. So we're going to go from negative infinity to 0 for region number 1. For region 2, we're going to go from parentheses 0 to 6 parentheses. And then region number 3, we're going to go from 6 to 8. And then for region 4, we're going to go from 8 to positive infinity. So now we're going to test our regions. Take a testing point from each one. So for region number 1, we can pick x to be -1. And then we can use step number 5 as our inequality. X minus 6 times x minus 8 over 2x squared. And we want to see if that's going to be greater than 0. So if we plug in -1, -1 minus 6, -1 minus 8 over 2 times -1 squared. Well, we get -7 times -9 over 2 times +1. Well, -7 times -9 gives us 63. That's a positive 63 over 2 times 1, which is 2. And that number is going to be greater than 0. So we know it's true in region number 1. In region number 2, we can pick x to be 1. And again, using the same inequality, we're going to plug in 1. So we have 1 minus 6 times 1 minus 8 over 2 times 1 squared. So that gives us -5 times -7 over 2 times 1. Well, that gives us positive 35 over 2. And that number is going to be greater than 0, so we know it's true in region number 2. Let's take a look at region number 3. Let's pick 7. So x is equal to 7. So we have x minus 6 times x minus 8 over 2 times x squared. So we have 7 minus 6 times 7 minus 8 over 2 times 7 squared. So we have 1 times -1 over 2 times 49. So we get -1 in the numerator, and we get 98 in the denominator. So -1 over 98 is not greater than 0. This is false. So it's false in region number 3. And then let's check region number 4. Let's pick x equals 9. So we have x minus 6 times x minus 8 over 2 times x squared. So we have 9 minus 6 times 9 minus 8 over 2 times 9 squared. We have 3 times 1 over 2 times 81. And that gives us 3 over 162. And that number is greater than 0. So we know it's true in region number 4. So we know that it's true in region 1 for that interval. It's also true in region number 2 for that interval. And it's true for region number 4 in that interval. So therefore, our answer is the following. -infinity to 0, union 0, 6, and then union 8 to +infinity.